Something happened this week that most people are going to scroll right past, and they really shouldn't. An AI helped design the systems that run it, not describe them, not wrote about them, actually built them. That's part of what makes GPT 5.5 different from anything OpenAI has released before. OpenAI dropped GPT 5.5 on April 23rd, and the framing is deliberate. They're not calling this a capability upgrade. They're calling it a step toward a fundamentally different way of working on a computer, where the model runs extended tasks autonomously, reasons across multiple tools, and doesn't need you to hold its hand every 30 seconds. The benchmark numbers first, because some of them are genuinely wild. On Terminal Bench 2.0, complex command line workflows requiring real planning and tool coordination, GPT 5.5 scored 82.7%. GPT 5.4 was at 75.1%. Claude Opus 4 came in at 69.4%, Gemini 3.1 Pro at 68.5%. That's a 13-point lead over Claude. That is not a margin. On GDP Val, which tests knowledge work across 44 real professions, legal analysis, financial modeling, data science, GPT 5.5 hit professional-level performance on 84.9% of tasks. On ARC AGI 2, it jumped from 73.3% to 85.0%. According to Artificial Analysis, an independent third-party evaluator weighting 10 different benchmarks, GPT 5.5 is currently the most capable model available across the board. The coding story has the most real-world weight. On OpenAI's internal benchmark for tasks with a median estimated human completion time of 20 hours, GPT 5.5 scored 73.1%. Dan Schipper, CEO of Every, ran a controlled test after a product launch. He'd spent days on a post-launch bug, brought in a top engineer to do a partial rewrite, then gave GPT 5.5 the same broken codebase and asked if it could arrive at the same solution. GPT 5.4 couldn't do it. GPT 5.5 could. The CEO of Cursor described the model as noticeably more persistent on complex, long-running engineering work without stopping prematurely. One NVIDIA engineer with early access said losing access to GPT 5.5 felt like losing a limb. Inside Codex, OpenAI showed it building a fully functional space mission application using real NASA orbital data in a single prompt with three-dimensional interactive mechanics and realistic orbital physics. More than 85% of OpenAI's own employees now use Codex every week, including finance, communications, and marketing teams. One finance team processed nearly 25,000 tax forms, totaling over 71,000 pages, and finished 2 weeks ahead of schedule. The science results got buried in the coverage, and they shouldn't have. On GeneBench, multi-stage genetic data analysis that corresponds to multi-day workloads for scientific experts, GPT 5.5 scored 25.0% versus 19.0% for GPT 5.4. And here's the one that really should be a bigger story. An internal version of GPT 5.5 helped discover a new mathematical proof about Ramsey numbers, a core problem in combinatorial mathematics where new results are genuinely rare and technically difficult. The proof was formally verified in Lean, the proof verification system.
This wasn't AI generating text about math. This was AI doing math. Okay, but actually, the most technically interesting part of this whole release isn't any benchmark, it's the inference story. GPT 5.5 is a larger, more capable model than GPT 5.4, and yet it matches GPT 5.4's per-token speed in real-world serving. Bigger models are almost always slower, so how? Codex, running on GPT 5.5, analyzed weeks of production traffic data and wrote custom heuristic algorithms to optimize how computation gets distributed across the hardware. That single improvement pushed token generation speeds up by more than 20%. The model helped build the tools that made it faster to run. Think about what that implies for the next version. Pricing: $5 per million input tokens, $30 per million output. exactly double GPT 5.4's rate. OpenAI's argument is that since the model completes the same tasks with significantly fewer tokens, the real-world cost may not actually double. Plausible. Whether that holds for your specific use case is a different question. GPT 5.5 is live now for Plus, Pro, Business, and Enterprise users. Free users are out for now. And while all of this was landing, something genuinely surprising was happening at Anthropic. On secondary share trading platforms, Anthropic is now trading at roughly a $1 trillion implied valuation, above OpenAI, which sits at around $880 billion on the same platforms. That is the first time Anthropic has been priced above OpenAI. 3 months ago, Anthropic closed a funding round at $38 billion. Secondary markets are now pricing it at almost 3 times that. The revenue numbers explain why. Annualized run rate went from roughly $9 billion at the end of last year to $30 billion by March 2026, a 233% jump in a single quarter, driven by enterprise adoption of Claude Code and API products. Amazon has committed up to $25 billion in additional investment. Interest in Anthropic shares on private markets spiked over 650% in the last 12 months. The company is reportedly exploring an IPO as early as late 2026, with Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan advising, targeting a valuation in the $400 to $500 billion range for the actual public debut, which, yes, would be significantly lower than what secondary markets imply right now, but that's just how private market dynamics work. Here's what all of this is actually telling you. The race isn't about which model scores higher on a chart anymore. It's about which company can translate raw AI intelligence into workflows that replace entire jobs, not just assist with them. GPT 5.5 is one answer to that question. Anthropic's revenue spike says the market believes there's more than one. What changes first for most working people? The tools they use or the number of colleagues they need? See you tomorrow.